Welcome to the Unwashed Asses, episode 109, recorded for Monday, April 29th, 2019. You thought you could get away from me. You thought that you could just walk away and that I'd forget. But you were wrong. You forgot about Easter. Or I didn't. You guys wanted to. The numbers for that one were bad. But my own personal curiosity persisted. I knew there was some connection between quote-unquote pagan holidays and the Christian version of Easter, and it still bothered me. Why does the day fluctuate? And what's the deal with the eggs? What's the deal? So I did the Google foo. I did the research, and I have answers. I have come to you bearing gifts, not eggs filled with candy, but filled with knowledge. Because part of me was hoping, oh yeah, maybe I can turn into a bit of a pseudo teacher here and bring to you a little bit of knowledge, little trinkets of trivia, if you will, and have your respect and love and admiration for it. But the stats said no. We don't give a shit about that. Tell us about how awful you are. Okay, I can keep doing that. Which is, yesterday's episode. But today is all about me scratching that itch. Not only to learn more, but to shove this knowledge down your throat. So, Easter itself, we all know, is, the big, large Christian holiday revolving around the resurrection of Jesus Christ, and then also deals with certain denominations then having the Lent involved and the fasting and the Maundy Thursdays and the Ash Wednesdays and so on and so forth. But why does Easter itself not have a set date? Well, if you head over to Wikipedia, Easter itself has quite a bit of controversy in terms of the date. It fucking goes on and on and on and on and on. But I get ahead of myself. Actually, I don't know. Should I do this one this early? No, we'll save it. We'll give you a little bit of a tease as far as why it's called Easter. Because that's going to lead into the paganism and the heathens, which Bede fucking loves to use. Or was it Bede? No, I think it was... Anyway, we'll get to that. I get ahead of myself. The date itself, Easter is one of the holidays that's related to a movable feast. And this means that they don't fall into a fixed date on the Gregorian or Julian calendars. And I guess those calendars themselves, they follow the cycle of the sun and the seasons. But Easter is determined on the lunar solar calendar, which, according to Wikipedia here, is similar to the Hebrew calendar. And this was all decided by the First Council of Nicaea? Let's see here. Nicaea? I can't pronounce that right. But it was a council of Christian bishops. But they were in the Bithynian city of Nicaea. Now, Isnuk, which the Berja, Tom Bergeron, America's Funniest Home Videos, province of Turkey. But they were apparently the first, sorry. Like, I have the articles open, and then I'm getting distracted reading. I'm sorry. I should have prepped more or stopped clicking the links. It's like when you go on that the rabbit hole of the internet where, it's easy enough to do with YouTube to the point where if you're like me, your YouTube homepage is just filled with all kinds of just random garbage, and it starts concentrating on itself, and it's almost to the point where I want kind of a fresh start with YouTube. Please delete all the data you have on me so I can just start again, because I keep watching the same shit over and over and over again. Same thing happens with Wikipedia, where you're on the Wikipedia and you're looking for an article and you're trying to learn more about it, and there's the the link, and the link is blue, and you've not clicked the link, and you're like, oh, here's a chance for more information, and you get to play the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, like, how does this relate into this other thing? And you click the link and it turns purple, and much like the Eddie Izzard bit where, you know, helicopters lead to knives and leads to jam, and then there's a link that leads to nothing, and how do you have a link that goes to a page that does nothing? That's what happened here. So the first council of Nicaea, we'll go with that pronunciation. This was in 325 Anno Domini. Established true rules: independence of the Jewish calendar and worldwide uniformity, which were the only rules for Easter explicitly laid down by the council. Council? No, a council. Council. No details for the computation were specified. These were worked out in practice, a process that took centuries and generated a number of controversies. In particular, the council did not decree that Easter must fall on Sunday. This was already the practice almost everywhere. So they started nailing down rules, but since it already falls on Sunday, why not keep it on Sunday? But in Western Christianity, using the Gregorian calendar, Easter always falls on a Sunday between the 22nd of March and the 25th of April, within about 7 days of the astronomical full moon. Following day, Easter Monday, is a legal holiday in many countries, blah, 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 blah. But Eastern Christianity bases its calculations on the Julian calendar. The Julian calendar, because I want to say we're on the Gregorian, was proposed by Julius Caesar, and was reform of the Roman calendar. And we're clicking links again. We're clicking links. We're clicking the links. Crap. Did I just get... No, I didn't get jumped around. Okay, sorry. This is why I wanted to record this at home, because finding links and navigating on my phone is more difficult instead of just having individual tabs. Where was this? Where was it? Establish the TUA rules. Came to be the first. There we go. There we go. I'm sorry. This one's just a fucking mess. Which I understand if you want to turn it off. I don't blame you. Alright, so the Julian calendars, which only follow the cycle of the sun, rather its date is offset from the date of Passover and is therefore calculated based on a lunar solar calendar similar to the Hebrew calendar, which is what we kind of established already. It has come to be the first Sunday after the ecclesiastical full moon that occurs on or soonest after 21st of March, but calculations vary, and the calculations which they did not reveal. Which makes me wonder then, how do we determine it year after year after year now? But, anywho, let's get into customs, because the reason I'm holding off on the name is what's going to transfer us into the paganism. But if we can kind of knock out the Easter stuff first, we can do the time warp and go back in time to the pagan beliefs. So Eastern customs vary across the Christian world, blah, 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 include sunrise services, exclaiming the paschal greeting, clipping the church, and decorating Easter eggs, which are symbols of the empty tomb. Which, let's get into that here. So Easter eggs, also called paschal eggs, are paschal, because I can't pronounce things the same twice, are eggs that are sometimes usually decorated. So, although eggs in general were a traditional symbol of fertility and rebirth in Christianity for the celebration of Eastertide, Easter eggs symbolize the empty tomb of Jesus, from which Jesus resurrected. In addition, one ancient tradition was the staining of Easter eggs with the color red in the memory of the blood of Christ, shed as at that time of his crucifixion. This custom can be traced to early Christians of Mesopotamia, and from there it spread to Russia and Siberia through the Orthodox churches, and later in Europe through the Catholic and Protestant churches. This Christian use of eggs may have been influenced by practices in pre-dynastic period in Egypt, as well as amid the early cultures of Mesopotamia and Crete. So, that answers two of our questions. The date, super secret society, decided the date's going to be around this time. And then the eggs, where I don't understand the symbolism of the empty tomb and an egg. If you can make sense of that one, please write the show and let me know. Because maybe it was just my denomination of the church, but Easter eggs were never really a big thing. And I'm having a hard time putting the two and two together here. But let's get into the name. So, the etymology here, and we're going to have to start burning through this fast. The modern English term of Easter, cognate with the modern Dutch Ooster and German Ostern, developed from an Old English word that usually appeared in the form Eastrun, honor and, but also provides blah, 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 blah. Bede provides the only documentary source for the etymology of the word in his Reckoning of Time. He wrote that the Old English month of Eostre, translated in Bede's time as Paschal month, which again, Paschal eggs and patchkes, was an English month corresponding to April, which he says was once called after a goddess of theirs named Ostara, in whose honor feasts were celebrated in that month. And this is where we can switch over here to Ostara. It's not clear whether or not this was an actual Germanic goddess, but she first appeared in Bede's 8th century work, The Reckoning of Time, where, again, he states that the equivalent of April's month. I'm not going to try and do the pronunciation, because we all know how terribly I pronounce things. Pagan Anglo-Saxons had held feasts in Ostara's honor, but that this tradition had died out by his time, replaced by the Christian Paschal month, a celebration of the resurrection of Jesus. Theories connecting Ostara with records of Germanic Eastern customs, this includes hares and eggs, have been proposed, particularly prior to the discovery of the Matrone Austriaceae and further developments in Indo-European studies. Debate has occurred among some scholars about whether or not the goddess was an invention of Bede. Ostara and Ostara are sometimes referenced in modern pop culture and are venerated in some forms of Germanic neo-paganism because, you know, everybody's got to be counterculture and go out in the woods and snap twigs and do crazy awesome dances. Based on the name alone, though, the goddess name Ostara is therefore linguistically cognate with numerous other dawn goddesses attested among Indo-European language-speaking peoples. These cognates lead to the reconstruction of a Proto-Indo-European dawn goddess. And the Encyclopedia of Indo-European Culture details that a Proto-Indo-European... How many times are we going to say Proto-Indo-European? Goddess of the dawn is supported by both the evidence of cognate names and the similarity of mythic representation of the dawn goddesses among the various Indo-European groups, and that all of this evidence permits us to post a Proto-Indo-European, here it is again, take a drink every time I say it, god of dawn who is characterized as a reluctant bringer of light for which she is punished. It almost sounds like Persephone and Hades. In 3 of the Indo-European stocks, Baltic, Greek, and Indo-Iranian, the existence of a PIE goddess of the dawn is given traditional linguistic support in that she is designated the daughter of heaven. So in Bede's work, he essentially goes on to say that the month of April, because I'm not going to pronounce this, has a name which is now translated Paschal month, and which was once called after a goddess of theirs named Ostara, in whose honor feasts were celebrated in that month. Now they designate that Paschal season by her name, calling the joys of the new rite by the time-honored name of the old observance. So Jacob Grimm then starts to break it down into 2 volumes of the Deutsche Mythology, so German mythologies, and he's trying to essentially gather evidence to reconstruct, essentially bring the myth of this goddess to life. Like, okay, I've gathered all the bits of the puzzle, we've put it together, this is a full-on person here. So, regarding her specifically, he says that, quote, "We Germans to this day call April Ostermonat, and Ostermanath is found as early as Egenhart. The great Christian festival, which usually falls in April or the end of March, bears in the oldest of OHD remains the name of Ostara, and is mostly found in the plural because 2 days were kept in Easter. This Ostara, like the Anglo-Saxon Easter, must in heathen religion have denoted a higher being whose worship was so firmly rooted that the Christian teachers tolerated the name and applied it to one of their grandest anniversaries." There are other versions of her that apparently are tied back to Norse mythology, and it also ties back to a potential male god named Eostre, also again Norse mythology here. Let's see here, does he have anything else? So Grimm additionally speculates on the nature of the goddess and surviving folk customs that may have been associated with her in Germany. Ostara, Easter, seems therefore to, quote, "Ostara seems therefore to have been the divinity of the radiant dawn, of upspringing light, a spectacle that brings joy and blessing, whose meaning could be easily adapted by the resurrection day of the Christian's God. Bonfires were lighted at Easter, and according to popular belief of long standing, the moment the sun rises on Easter Sunday morning, he gives 3 joyful leaps. He dances for joy. Water, and it goes on to say, water drawn on the Easter morning is like that at Christmas, holy and healing. Here also heathen notions seem to have grafted themselves on great Christian festivals. Maidens clothed in white, who at Easter, at the season of returning spring, show themselves in clefts of the rock and on mountains, are suggestive of the ancient goddess." And it's in the end quote. In the second volume of Deutsche Mythology, Grimm picks up on the subject of Ostara again, connecting the goddess to various German Easter festivities, including Easter eggs. Quote, "But if we admit goddesses, then in addition to Nerthus, Ostara has the strongest claim to consideration. To what we said on page 290, I can add some significant facts. The heathen Easter had much in common with May feast and the reception of spring, particularly in the matter of bonfires. Then, through long ages, there seem to have lingered among the people Easter games, so-called, which the church itself had to tolerate. I allude especially to the custom of Easter eggs and to the Easter tale, which preachers told from the pulpit for the people's amusement, connecting it with Christian reminiscences." So, what I'm seeing here is what was common at the time when we had predominantly pagan belief systems, and the Christians were going about spreading the word, and rulers were trying to essentially merge the two faiths so that they could have a consensus. And so the early Christian practitioners would adopt pagan practices into their own faith. And as Grimm here points out, it may have been just a way to humor them. There may have been more political motivations to it. It's hard to speculate, especially for someone as uneducated as myself on the matter. But I think it answers the important questions that I had dwelling. Again, where does the name come from? Why is it the date's so funny, and what's the deal with those eggs? As the last bit kind of explains to us, the eggs might just loosely be based on an empty tomb, and they're like, all right, the pagans like hiding eggs, how do we fit this in? Well, inside the egg it's empty, like Jesus' tomb was, but inside the egg we put sweets and money. Well, inside all of us there's Jesus, and we only have to crack that hard outer shell to find true love and joy inside. I don't know. So, again, I apologize for the rambling, the terrible format of the show here, but that's going to wrap it up. I've got nothing else. And I don't expect you to write the show about this one. But if you do want to write the show about anything, drop a line over to theunwashedasses@gmail.com. And this year, help the show grow. I love seeing the numbers tick up, and I love hearing of folks, discovering the show through a friend. So tell them, hey, get TUA or the Unwashed Asses wherever you get your podcast normally. And that's going to wrap it up. We will talk to you next time. Blood for the Blood God.